Hello, everyone. It's Boone Williams. So, if you have seen my first YouTube video, it is called How I Realized I Was a Trans Lesbian. I detail you through my life story a little bit, specifically the parts of it that related to me discovering that I was attracted to girls. Spoiler alert, that happened very early on, and thusly, well, not thusly because it's not a natural consequence of that, but I did later realize that I was transgender, and that's an important sort of preface to this video. Not that you have to go and watch it, but I am sort of revisiting that from a perspective of where I stand now, approximately 11 years after realizing that I was a girl, and approximately, I don't know, my entire life after realizing I was attracted to girls. So yeah, if you don't know who I am, my name is Boone Williams. I am a transgender woman. I am also a lesbian. Those two identities have certain values in my life, and they intersect in very interesting ways, and that's sort of the genesis of this YouTube channel. I was watching YouTube videos earlier today of lesbians. I like a lot of lesbian YouTubers. If you haven't watched Rose and Rosie, Paige and Holly, Jessica Kelgren-Falzard, Jessie and Claudia, who am I missing? Cami Scott. There's a lot, but those are the ones that are coming to my mind right now. Watch them all. Watch them all. If I think of more, I'll link them. Then the day before, I was watching one of my favorite transgender YouTubers, Matilda Hogberg, and I will link her channel as well. She's fabulous. And something that I've always known has been bothersome to me and has been prevalent in my life, but really clicked in a specific way today, was the fact that being transgender and also being a lesbian is very difficult. Both things. Both of these identities come with unique challenges. And I've watched a lot of coming out stories of cis lesbians and of straight transgender people, and I've been able to relate to all of their well, not all of their things, but a lot of it has been relatable for me. And then there's this unique experience that I have where I had both of those coming out. Well, not really, because I didn't really kind of come out as a lesbian. The point being, I had both of those experiences in my childhood, but they had to come together, and I had to accept them both kind of at the same time for me to make any sense of myself. And it was confusing, it was painful, and it still continues to be painful. I think I've talked about before on this channel, when I was young, probably as young as maybe 8 years old, 9, 10, I don't know, over 10 years ago for sure. I'm almost 20 now, gonna be 20 in 3 days. Yeah, when I was really young, I would try and convince myself that I was attracted to guys. So mind you, this was like probably really close to when I realized I was a girl in a very matter-of-fact way, but it was before I came out as transgender, or in fact even had that terminology to use in the first place. And this is a really odd experience for a cis boy, which I was not, spoiler alert, but it was unusual. I would look at pictures of men on the internet, not anything sexual, don't get your mind in the gutter, I was little, and I would watch men in TV shows and stuff, and I would look at the guys and I'd be like, I just try and force myself to feel something. Like, seriously, it was kind of sad, I really would. And then, you know, I would just get like a crush on every girl I saw, so it was a losing battle. And then that continued after I came out as transgender, and after I went through part of testosterone dominant puberty, then paused it, rewind, went on to an estrogen dominant puberty. That whole thing happened again. I had this whole bisexuality crisis. I could not deny the fact that I was attracted to women. It was simply impossible. I did try to repress that part of me. I was deeply ashamed of my sexuality for most of my life, but I couldn't ever say that I wasn't attracted to women, because it was just, more accurately, I couldn't fool myself. It would just have been a stupid attempt. It was so freaking obvious. But I did try really hard and kind of successfully convinced myself into thinking that I was attracted to guys. They ended up almost all being very similar. They were usually gay men. So very unachievable for me to actually have a relationship with any of these men. It was more of a fantasy of a non-intimidating guy who was kind of feminine in certain ways, but it was enough for me to feel like, oh, I'm attracted to men, which to me felt like this necessary part of the female experience. Now, I've done a whole video on my bisexuality crisis, so if you want to watch that, you can. I'll link it. I'm linking so many things, I'm gonna lose track. But it was a very big thing for me. So much of my internalized transphobia came from this attraction to women and lack of attraction to men, because I had a lot of transgender role models, well, at least a few, and they were all straight, and I just felt like, okay, so if I'm attracted to girls though, like, this is just, I didn't have like a role model, and still kind of don't, to look up to, of like another trans woman who's living her life the way that I kind of am now, who's attracted to women. I know a few trans lesbians in the world, in real life, but I don't know, there's something about like the way they discuss their sexuality and their gender that feels sort of, you know, some things we relate to each other with, but like I feel like I have a sort of unique experience in both parts, in the gender part and in the sexuality part, and it leaves me feeling very isolated, which is sort of the theme of this video. And then sort of the other side of this coin is that being transgender, being born a male, which is not actually a way of talking about it that I tend to go into, because I feel that I was always a girl, and I truly believe that I was always a girl. It's just a matter of transitioning. But having that experience and being transgender felt like it invalidated my legitimacy as a lesbian. It made it difficult for me to use that term for a long time. In fact, I didn't really call myself a lesbian, I don't think, until I started consistently passing. There was actually a specific moment where I was at a fair, and this guy who I didn't know I just kind of met him because he was a friend of a friend, and I was talking about how I had a girlfriend, and then he was just like, oh my gosh, there's so many like bisexual and lesbian girls here, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am a lesbian. This kid doesn't know I'm trans. You know, he's not going to perceive me as a straight guy. As I talk about this, my girlfriend, obviously, that's when it kind of hit me like, okay, I can use this label. That's how the world sees me now. And it's true. Yeah, like I don't know, I'm still insecure about how people perceive me, and sometimes I think, oh gosh, does everyone just automatically know that I'm trans? Or like, you know, if I start talking about a trans-related thing, are people going to not get that I'm, like, I don't know. I know that I pass, I never get misgendered on the phone or in person or anything like that, so it's not an issue in my everyday life. But then when I'm in a group of people I don't really know that well, I'm like, I'm not certain that they don't know that I'm trans, but I guess they probably wouldn't assume it. So I've had these two conflicting things where basically it boils down to this. My identity as a lesbian feels like it invalidates my legitimacy as a transgender woman, and my identity as a transgender woman feels like it invalidates my legitimacy of a lesbian. It's a lot. And I've thought for many years, like I felt like, oh, I can do one or the other. Like if I were a cis girl, I could just be a lesbian. That's so simple. Everyone knows what a lesbian is. They don't have to balance these two different things. Like what? You're a trans... Hi, Mama. Everyone knows what a lesbian is, you know, like I could come out as a lesbian, and if I were cis, they wouldn't have to balance this other thing, like what, you're trans and you're gay. For cis straight people, a lot of them anyways, this isn't a call out post, but it seems to be like this kind of challenging concept to be both, and I guess I sort of understand why, because in order to accept that I'm gay, you have to accept my legitimacy of a woman, right? Which is kind of the issue I'm having. Because of all the internalized transphobia I have, and how many times in my life I've had someone say, no, you're just a creepy straight guy dressing up as a woman. I've internalized so much of that and so much other BS that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can't be a lesbian, I'm just a straight guy. Just a straight guy. No, like I was born with a penis, I had testosterone in my body, all the other crap, so to call myself a lesbian would just be foolish, because I cannot, although when I do watch a lot of cis lesbians' stories, I relate to so much of it, but there are these certain elements that I can't quite, because I wasn't really demonized for being attracted to girls as a kid. Though the interesting thing is I almost felt like I was going to be. I wasn't perceived as a girl who likes girls, so it wasn't this taboo thing. But in my mind it was. Even though I knew, like, okay, me being a boy and liking girls makes me straight, I felt so afraid of that. And I wanted to be attracted to boys. Like, I had this kind of experience that a lot of cis lesbians talk about, where they try and force themselves to like guys. And this was before I even came out, which is so fascinating. It didn't really make like logical sense if you're looking at it from an outside perspective, because, oh, if you're a boy and you assume you're gonna have to be perceived from society that way for the rest of your life, wouldn't it be easier to just be attracted to girls and then you just be a straight guy and that's so easy? But that wasn't who I was, so that was a lot harder. And for some reason, my answer to that from an early age was to repress the sexuality part of it. And I think maybe, I'm not entirely sure why, but that seems to be because I just could not pretend that I was a boy. Even before I knew that being transgender existed, which was a good chunk of my life, I could only accept that, okay, I am a girl, but the world's gonna call me he and call me a boy and this and that for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna have, you know, short hair to fit in or whatever the heck, and wear a tuxedo to a wedding, you know, like, it was never like I never tried to convince myself to think that I was a boy. Yes, now I have that internalized transphobia, again, I was talking about, that makes me think, oh, boo, no, you're not really a girl because you're just really a creepy straight dude. Like, there's that nagging voice, but on no serious level have I ever actually tried to talk myself into thinking, you're a boy, this is just some silly feeling, you're not transgender, you're not a girl. Never. Even before I knew what transgender was, I accepted that I was a girl on some level, even though I couldn't quite properly verbalize it. So the way that this manifests itself into me is this very isolating experience. And again, I know that there are other trans lesbians watching this, and my hope and my belief, honestly, is that some of y'all will watch this and maybe you'll get some comfort out of it. I know I could use my own comfort, which is all I can ever hope to offer with this channel, is to show people that they're not alone, and that these unique experiences that we don't hear talk about a lot are legitimate and normal and healthy. And quite truthfully, when was the last time you saw a trans lesbian in the spotlight at all? And, you know, trans people still have very little spotlight, but we see straight trans women on TV every now and then, and we see lesbians on TV every now and then. But the idea of those two things coming together, I feel like for a lot of people, they just can't quite wrap their heads around it yet. And it's really tough. I sit with both of these identities that are very important to me, and yet I feel like I can't. What this basically boils down to is I consistently struggle with the feeling that I can't fully lean into the label of lesbian, and I can't fully lean into the label of a trans woman, which sounds so weird because I talk about both of those things so much. But the truth is, I feel a nagging sense of illegitimacy in both communities. I never fully feel connected with either, even though, like I said, I have a lot of like lesbians on YouTube that I look up to, and a lot of trans women on YouTube that I look up to, and when I hear their stories, both of which I can relate to. But because of that intersection that as of right now feels extremely mystical and unique, they work against each other to make me feel like, okay, I can't really be a woman because I'm not attracted to men, and most trans women are attracted to men. I don't know if that's true. I think it is, but it's just a feeling that I have. I don't actually care about the statistics, because I think that some people, you know, and I know straight trans women get called gay men all the time too, just like I get called a straight man. You know, where none of us are safe. You know, we're all fighting against bigotry, and we're all fighting against the internalized BS that we have. But that's just my own thing, where I think, oh, if I just like guys, then I would feel comfortable really calling myself a woman, and I know that I'm a woman on a deeper level, even though I know that I do. It would get rid of that nagging feeling, is what I think. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I feel. And it's the same on the other side, you know? If I weren't trans, then I would just be a lesbian, and I would be comfortable with it. I'd be comfortable in my identity as a woman and as a gay woman, and all would be grand, and it wouldn't be complicated, and I could fit in with all the other lesbians and talk about being a lesbian without having this weird feeling about being guilty or like I'm lying. It's all shit. Quite honestly, it's all shit. It's bad. It sucks. And not to get too dark, but I think when I get to the root of it all, and the difficulties of my life and my struggles to feel like I fit in, or to feel confident in myself, my self-esteem, all of these things kind of come back to that intersection in a major way, and it's not good. And it's gonna take a lot of time, a lot of working on myself, learning to accept that both of those things are true and neither of them cancel each other out. They can both be true. These are not mutually exclusive ideas. Until I get there, it's gonna be hard. But I'm making this YouTube video about it because, as I said, I can only hope that this will mean something to at least even one person, and then maybe gradually we'll all feel a little bit more comfortable talking about these things, because letting it sit inside of you and not knowing how to express it, which is what I've done most of my life, is not good. Doesn't go anywhere, and in fact it just gets worse. It's like an infection. It starts and then it spreads and then it takes over you and you die. That got way dark. Don't die. But you get what I mean. It's painful, and it's painful not to talk about it. And I just had a sudden jolt of inspiration today to talk about it, so I did. I'm recording this video the day before Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. If you don't, happy whatever. Happy, almost my birthday. My birthday's on Saturday, so 2 days after Thanksgiving. I looked at my phone because I thought I heard a Facebook noise. Happy holidays, everybody. Please be safe. Yes, that's all I have to say. I'm a bit scattered, but I managed to make it through. I'm sure I'm going to realize I forgot a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about afterwards, but that's what you get when you don't make a script or notes. Anyways, you all are wonderful. Please, please, if you're having trouble accepting yourself today or loving yourself today, know that I love and accepted you, and I always will, unconditionally, unless you're transphobic or homophobic. But if you're watching this video and you stuck around this long, I have a feeling you're probably in it because you got something important out of it. So, much love. Take care. Be well. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to. Don't if you don't. Like if you want to. Don't if you don't.